Welcome to Uncopyable Women in Business. I'm Kay Miller, also known as Muffler Mama. I've been the #1 salesperson in a male-dominated industry, a successful entrepreneur for over 30 years, and now my mission is to help you build a business and brand nobody else can compete with. If you're ready to break out of the pack and create your own uncopyable advantage, stay tuned. My guests and I are here to help. One more time, please. My guest today is Natasha Dillon. Natasha is the co-founder and CFO of Fund5 Merchant Funding, a leader in alternative financing for small businesses. With over 11 years in commercial lending, she's driven Fund5's growth and brings deep expertise in financial strategy, leadership, and risk management, helping entrepreneurs get the capital they need to succeed. Natasha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I sort of got through that, right? It took me a couple tries. Natasha, your company is something that I wasn't really familiar with your model of financing. So I'd like to hand it over to you and just have you talk a little bit about where you got the idea to start this business, your background, and then what that business is about.
Sure, absolutely. So I guess I can start with sort of my background. So I've been in this industry for, like you mentioned, a little over 11 years. And about 5 years ago, my partner and I started Fund5, which was a branch off of another company that we were part of, which I can go into. But what got me into this industry to begin with was I was actually doing consulting for businesses after I had come out of another business, and really was wanting to work with various different types of businesses in management consulting. And what I kind of found was a lot of those businesses, while they did need assistance in organization, like their org chart and organizing their business, a lot of it came down to their own financing. And that was where they felt like they really needed some assistance. So in that, I started my sort of journey into learning about different financial options for small, mid-sized businesses, and came across this type of alternative financing lending. And then from there, networked and got in touch with some folks that were doing it on that side. And it was just a little bit more aligned with my background, which is finance, and just also my more math mind. So I kind of got involved in that side. And it was a really new type of industry at the time, and business that I started with was pretty unique. And it was almost like an incubator, but it's an incubator space, meaning that there were several different funds that were working under the same roof, but utilizing and pooling the same resources. So we were all in the same office space, so we were all splitting that cost. We were all splitting the cost of the operations end of things, the tech end of things, the legal end of things, and sales, really. So it was really an interesting model at the time. And then from there, kind of outgrew that space and started working alongside another company, handling all of their underwriting and the back-end work. And that's where I met my partner. And we had just decided that with his expertise in sales and with all of my underwriting and operations, that we wanted to branch off and sort of operate the business the way we wanted to. And one of those ways was to scale it and to just be able to provide more options to our clients and our customers. So that's kind of what brought us to today, which ironically, actually, this month is 5 years for Fund.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations. #1, I am not a math mind. So it's great to have people like you and people like me, because I would be in the position of needing that kind of help, and you're able to give it. Last time when we chatted, you explained pretty simply the model of financing that you are providing, which was something new to me. So can you explain a little bit about, who your customer would be and how would this financing work for a small business?
Sure. So our customers are various different types of businesses, small businesses, mid-sized businesses, We're on occasion we work with publicly traded companies, but usually not that size. They sort of outsized us. We're sort of helping that in between phase. So a lot of our customers come to us for various different reasons, all for capital, all for sort of this bridge, if you will, for them. One example that we had talked about was a restaurant. So restaurants come to us quite often. They're a big cash in, cash out type of business. So managing their cash management, what we call it, is a challenge for a lot of small business owners. They're really working on making their food and less about their finances. And on very, very rare occasions, does a restaurant have an accounting department or something of that effect, or a CFO, which would be more aligned with what they would need to manage their cash. So they run into various different problems and opportunities. One example would be, on a Friday night, their oven goes out, or whatever we'll say, a Friday morning, their pizza oven goes out at a pizza place. They are in dire need of getting that repaired, and they may not have the exact amount of capital that they need at that very moment. And we do come in, and we are a quick turnaround. We could fund within hours if they got all the proper documents to us in time. But typically we're about a 24-hour turnaround. Though today it's 12:15 here, and we had a deal that had come into us this morning, and we've already funded it. So there are opportunities. And then we also have situations where, that same restaurant may have gotten an opportunity to open a second location, and they need the capital, and they would come to us for that quicker process rather than a bank, which is going to be a lot longer of a process for them and a lot more paperwork involved. We also are a little bit more flexible on some blemishes that may have happened, in the past for the owner, but typically they're coming to us for the quicker capital and for the partnership that we provide with them. We work alongside them. We're not like a bank where we are a little bit more strict and we have kind of a box that we fit into. We work more alongside the customers, and we provide additional capital in the future, and we sort of maintain that type of relationship with them.
So does someone come to you and create an agreement or some type of a contract with you that you'll be providing funding for them over a certain amount of time? Or, if someone just calls you up, I'm Kay Miller, I have a business, I need a new computer. How does that work?
Yeah, of course, we have our requirements. We don't just give money to everybody and without any contract. So typically how the process works is we work with brokers. So the brokers have these types of relationships with the clients, and they can place them with the proper type of financing. So if they are more aligned with going to a bank, the broker would bring them to the bank. If they're more aligned to coming to us, they would bring them to us, or various different types of financing tools and options. So when they do come to us, what they come to us with is an application, just a one-page application giving basic information about the company, about the owner, and we look at bank statements. So we're not, again, what differentiates us from a bank is we're not looking at tax returns or anything of that nature. We are solely analyzing their cash in and cash out. So whatever cash they get in for revenue, we're accounting that for a certain way to price them. And then also if they have other debts or other outflows of cash, we're taking that into consideration to determine and offer a financial amount that we deem that they can handle and that we're willing to provide them. Then they come at that point, they accept our terms. Then we would then have a contract in place. And though that contract does have a set term and a set payment amount, but like I mentioned, we work alongside them. So what we're actually doing is purchasing future receivables. So we are in contact with those clients after they've taken funding from us. We're in contact with them each month, and we're determining, okay, how much did they make this month? And then we take certain, sort of percentages of that as far as the payment back. But that, again, us coming in on a situation where pizza oven, we are taking that into consideration. Okay, well, once you repair that pizza oven, how much more revenue will that generate for you? If you're coming to us and saying you want a second location, we're determining and forecasting how much revenue that's going to bring for you doing something like that's going to enhance your revenue. So we determine that and our offer and our payback.
Hey there. This podcast is meant to give you an uncopyable advantage. If you're ready to jump on the fast track, go to beuncopyable.com/K. You'll get the scoop on my books, webinars, personal consulting, and our Moose Market. It's all designed to help you stand out, sell more, grow your business and brand in a way that's truly uncopyable. Once again, that's beuncopyable.com/K. Now, back to the show. I think it's a very interesting option, and I'm not part of that world. Like I said, math is not my thing, really, even finance. I hand off as much of that as I can. But this is something that I hope that you listening might not be aware of and might be able to take advantage of at some point. And I'll put links in the show notes about that. But do you want to just mention how someone would go forward pursue this type of financing with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a direct contact. Folks can reach us directly. They don't have to go through a broker, but it would just be through our website, just sending us an email, and we can have somebody reach out with an application and exactly the documents that we need to get started.
Cool. I do want to talk to you just about being an entrepreneur. You made that decision to start a business. You eventually got a partner, but you were on your own at first. And I know, I was just reading the biggest number of businesses started are by women over 50. And you're not over 50, but that is, a huge draw for women who've had maybe a corporate career their whole lives, or, whatever situation they're in, they want to do something that they're passionate about or interested in, or they have a gift for. So talk to me about what the listener can glean from your experience starting a business.
Yeah, so I did after college, and I did work at a bank and did have a corporate job, but it was very, very, very short-lived for me. I'm more aligned with this lifestyle, which for good or bad, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Entrepreneurship is really a mixed bag. Everyone says, I wish I had my own business, but I don't think they all realize all the stuff that goes with it sometimes, right?
Yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience. We'll say that. But I think that it's just something that I love the challenges. I love the figuring it out. I love I can sort of stomach it a little bit more than I think some other people have. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, and my family has its own business. Completely different business, completely different aspect, but I think I just always enjoyed that. I think one part that brought me to it, which I've learned over time is not always the best part, but I kind of can be that like lone wolf kind of aspect, and I don't mind doing it myself, and that sort of aspect of it kind of brought me to this point. But being in this process and growing different businesses and particularly FunFi has definitely brought me to, more of a collaborative space. And having my partner, as you mentioned, yes, but I've had partners in the past, but it's, you have to find the right fit and the right way to work together, and also personality wise. So my partner and I are a great fit for both how we handle different aspects of the business, but also just the way we work together.
Interesting. So I've been an entrepreneur with my husband for 30 years now. It's hard to believe, but he says that he is unemployable. So that's another way to put it. But, you say you're a lone wolf, but you don't maybe like to be micromanaged. You want to make your own decisions. You want to determine your own future. I know you have a child. Is it a son, did you say?
I have a daughter.
A daughter. Okay, a daughter. So that flexibility that you can have to set your own schedule, but sometimes that means a lot of work. But I think that is good for a personality like yours, where you want to do this on your own. And like you said, you can stomach the risk. and you just know you're going to get it done. So I think those are great qualities to have. And so you start this business. How do you start getting customers? How do you get the word out? How did you connect with these brokers?
Yeah. So our brokers, we worked alongside a lot of brokers that we've built relationships with over many years since the beginning. A lot of folks that I worked with at that business I was mentioning to you in the beginning, those relationships have continued, and we continue to sort of work together nowadays. We also bring in more businesses. Our company now is a little bit more, I don't want to use the word corporate, but more, more established in that way. So we do get a lot of inquiries that way. And we work a lot with the brokers that come into us now. We also turn some brokers away. It's a completely different situation that we're in now than we were in, especially 11 years ago, but even just 7 years ago, 5 years ago, and who we're working with. And we really like to work with people that we like and that we feel that have the same goals in mind, which is to grow and to scale and to provide good business to our clients. So we do that. We also have expanded into Canada. So Canada really was more of that sort of new business feel, even though we launched it's almost been a year and a half, a little over a year now. And that was a market we went into without knowing any brokers and really not even knowing if there would be any brokers in that market. So we had prepared ourselves for doing direct sales, and that is an avenue that we've explored a lot in Canada. But we have also been able to meet different brokers in Canada and have built those relationships over the last year. Really, really relationship based is kind of our approach and how we like to work with both the US and the Canada brokers. So I go to Canada a few times a year. I try to avoid the winters. It's just not my, math isn't your thing. Cold is not my, even though I live in the Northeast. But we go there and we, build those relationships. We talk to them. We provide best customer service to the brokers that we can, along with our actual clients. Big business for us is refinancing and providing more capital and keeping the clients that we already have. So we do our best to be able to provide that. And that was a, core goal for both my partner and I when we decided to start Fund Fives. We saw how other businesses were operating when it came to customer service, and we both just felt very differently about that. And we thought we could do it differently. And so we decided to start our own. And that's where we continue to take it and continue to be really hands-on. So, there's parts of the business that we're scaling and we can't be as hands-on as we once were, but we really try to be and try to take inventory on how our customer service continues.
I like the fact that you say, your business is all about financing, capital, and yet it's still relationships. Like any type of sales or customer service, doing business in any way. If you have a good network, like you have obviously built, and you treat your brokers and your customers with, the kind of care you would want to be treated with, I'm sure that has been a big factor in your growth. So I think that's a great point to make, that it is, when it comes down to it, for now, until AI takes over the world, it is still about relationships. And I say that jokingly because AI, my little opinion I'll throw in here, is giving us a lot of opportunities to have those human relationships and stand out. And of course, as you pointed out, when you do scale, you get bigger, it will change things. But if that's your corporate culture that you build, I think that's going to carry through. And I also thought it was interesting, you made the point that you saw what was out there in the market with financing, and you saw whatever aspect of it that could be done better in your mind. And apparently that's true because you've got customers, you're growing your business. So I like that message to anybody listening, that keep your eyes open, your ear to the ground or whatever. And maybe there is an opportunity to do something that for you, Natasha, was in your wheelhouse and you saw an opportunity. You said, I'm a lone wolf. I don't want to necessarily be told what to do, however you put that. So it sounds like it was a really good fit. So I think I'm going to fall back on a question that I really do love to ask. And that is there something, I'm going to put you on the spot so you can think for a minute. Is there something you wish you knew back then that you don't know that you didn't, or something that you would have done differently? Something that our audience can think about that, to take advantage of your experience. Would there be something that comes to mind?
I think, it's all personalized as far as, different folks and different personalities. But I think for me, one thing I wish that, and I continue to work on, is just keeping just being able to delegate more and being able to kind of step back from it. Obviously in the beginning when funds are low and you're building a business, you have to really be a part of it. And I think it's just a constant reminder for myself that if we want to grow, if we want to get to a certain level, that there is less and less that I can really be participating in. I think also just the mindset of scaling and growing, and that there's an abundance of customers, there's an abundance of capital, there's an abundance of all of that, and really just kind of shooting a little bit larger from an earlier time. I think that that's something that a lot of people like to keep small, and I fell victim to that too. But we continue to do that, and we're always running into some sort of issue, whether we've funded a certain amount and we need more capital or whatever. We're always kind of figuring it out and making it work, and it always seems to. So I think if I had that mindset at a younger age or a younger time in my career, that would have been, I would be in a different place. But it's all learning.
It is all learning. And even the biggest companies, if you want to grow, things have to change and morph, and they're not going to be the same as they always were. I can relate to the delegation part because, I'm in the position, of course, we all are, if we're growing, to delegate more. And the people that we delegate to might not do it exactly the way we would. And I have to be a little humble sometimes and say, okay, maybe my way isn't the absolute best way anyway. But it doesn't matter because you just can't do it all if you're going to want to grow. And the fact that I'm always fascinated to talk to guests because some say, oh, yes, I had this vision. I knew where I was going to go and I am either achieving it or I achieved it. And some extremely successful women say that they didn't really have any idea of how big this could get, or they didn't have that grand vision. They're just kind of methodically going through the steps.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of both, right? I knew that this was a great business. I love the business. I find it fascinating. I love learning about all the businesses we're helping and all the unique things that people are doing as far as creating different revenue streams for themselves. And, there's, a restaurant and those types of businesses, obviously, that's somebody's dream. And we're all familiar with what a restaurant is. But we meet some really unique businesses that, you would never, ever know people did as a career. And it's really fascinating. But, it's all learning, and we continue to do that, and we like to provide for them and grow that way.
It reminds me of throughout our business, the 30 years, a lot of it, we were speaking and consulting for associations. And in associations, it's hard to believe how many associations there are. Hundreds and hundreds of associations for things that you would never even imagine. I don't know, the pork belly, whatever, wholesale distributor association, just niches for everything. There are a lot of associations. So I'm sure that there is a very broad and varied types of businesses that you deal with. So do you have any interesting, I don't know, I know you don't want to name names, but do you have any interesting businesses that you run across just for entertainment value here that people would realize that are out there?
Not that really come to mind, but you mentioned pork belly. I mean, we do lots of wholesale. There's a lot of wholesale businesses, and yeah, very very niche things. Like I think we had one company that this isn't very, I guess, that unique, but they sold grass. They would grow grass and sell sod, essentially, I guess, or so that was fascinating, and kind of seeing how they operate and how they manage it was interesting. I mean, we had somebody who made just elevators for windmills, just so very very specific. And
Okay, now that's a good one. Elevators for windmills. Talk about a niche or a niche there. That's really interesting.
yeah, and and then we have technology firms too. So I mean, that's a big learning curve for us as well. I mean, we do use AI obviously to assist with our sort of back end underwriting processes, but watching how some of these, AI or other type of tech companies are coming to be, it's not really our wheelhouse so much because a lot of them are really generating revenue from the beginning, but we do work with some that have, different ways of doing it, seeing their bigger vision come to play while they're also operating, either doing consulting or whatnot. So yeah, we run a big gamut down to your plumber. We do a lot of financing for plumbing and for HVAC companies, electricians. So we see them all.
Well, it is interesting to hear what some of those are because I didn't know. And AI, that must be interesting. AI is just changing so much and how we use it. I just generated a graphic for a client this morning, and it was just amazing how much better it is than it was 6 months ago, for sure. So interesting how, AI is obviously part of all of our worlds, but people starting a, business in AI, that's going to be interesting to say the least, because things are changing so quickly. Well, I think it's fascinating, and I know our listeners are going to be really interested to learn about a world that I don't think most of us are familiar with, unless it's just because I'm not familiar with it. But there's this option, and now you can look at Natasha's website and maybe learn about some options that you didn't know about. I think that's very valuable. So as we close out, do you have any final thoughts to share with the listeners, maybe entrepreneurs who might need your financing or whatever?
I think probably the one thing that a lot of folks come to us where we can't really help is just not having plans in place and not preparing for moments that we're referring to where there may be a broken pizza oven or something of that nature. So I think that's probably, I think the best advice is just, have a plan laid out, but also be prepared that your plan will probably change on a daily basis, but or something will come up that you're not aware of. And we are here for those moments too.
Be prepared for anything. You never know. So Natasha, it's been great talking with you. A fascinating look into, as I said, a world that I am not familiar with. And I really appreciate you spending this time with me on the podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncopyable Women in Business. If you enjoyed it, please follow, rate, and review the show. And be sure to visit beuncopyable.com/K. Always remember, be uncopyable.